All right, joining us now. He's one of our favorites on this show. He's on every year. We talk softball. We talk Kansas City Chiefs football. That is now the Super Bowl defending champion Kansas City Chiefs once again. Proud of that. I speak of our good friend Iowa State head coach Jamie Pinkerton joining us now, who's going to be hosting this week the Iowa Four, Big Four there with Iowa State, Iowa, Drake, and Northern Iowa. Coach, how you doing?
Doing great, Eric. How you doing? Good to be back on.
Well, it's a good time to be you. You're hosting this week, the Iowa Four. What's it like to host it versus traveling to Northern Iowa or traveling to Iowa or Drake? When you host, what kind of tell us behind the scenes? What's it like to be the host versus not hosting?
Well, obviously, it's really good when you're not hosting it because then you get a 2-day weekend. You go down on Friday night after classes, obviously, because of NCAA rules. But when you're not hosting, you can go down like last year was in Iowa City, and previously, it's been at the other schools, UNI, and then next year it'll be at Drake. It gives you an opportunity to get the freshmen and the newcomers kind of into what traveling is. So there's a lot of things to be learned and getting into a routine of what travel will be like in the spring season. So there's some good things about that. About hosting, the last time we hosted, we fought weather and actually Sunday was canceled. So hope this weekend's looking like really good weather and our field's in really good shape. So it'll be a good weekend. Mid 80s here, which in late September and October is kind of summer's probably putting in their last punch weather-wise. But we're excited to be hosting and always, playing Drake, UNI, and Iowa. You get an idea of how you stack up. I mean, we've already played 3 games this fall. We've seen a little bit of what we're about, but then in this, you get the local ties. You get some fans out there. You get young high school players that have all 4 teams that they can watch and so, fans of softball in the state of Iowa. So it's a good showcase for all 4 of the universities, and we're happy to be hosting this year. And looks like the weather, like I said, is going to be really good.
Coach Jacobs from UNI told me that jitteringly that you're the host, so you're picking up the food tab. Is that true?
He says that every time, but I never hear him mentioning buying us anything up when we see the calls. So, but no, we'll have to chat about that. Maybe that's in negotiations. Maybe if we do that, maybe he'll return the favor or something when we return it that way.
I'm just saying, so that should be worked out and maybe who's hosting and all that. Now, what's unique is
That's kind of unfair for you to interview him first, because then now you got me on my heels.
it just worked out that way. That was not by design. It worked out. Okay, I work around coaches' schedules. That's how
Right.
I'm a coach-friendly guy. You
Yeah.
tell me when you're available. We make it happen.
Well, and I wasn't available today until 4:30 with it being a day off.
Yeah,
I had to make Mama at home happy. Get some things done around there this morning before coming into the office.
that's understandable. Very understandable. Now, what's unique this year is obviously you got a new coach in the group here with Drake. First, how strange is it not to see Coach Calvert there on the other dugout, and then obviously Coach Deal taking over there at Drake.
Yeah. Well, obviously very familiar with Lindsay and what type of coach she is. Good up and coming young coach, has done great things at Indian Hills Community College. So I'm looking forward to seeing what she does. Obviously, I think all the coaches in this Big Four will tell you, we want to beat the other one when we're playing each other, but for the sake of RPI and placement for postseason, we all want each other to do well. And we're out on the recruiting trail, as we've spoken about. In the summer, we run into each other at high school games along with the recruiting tournaments around the country. So I've always felt like I've had a good relationship with all of them, and have a good relationship with her. So I'm looking forward to seeing what she does, and obviously wishing her well. The answer to I've seen Rich a couple of times. throughout the summer, and he's doing well. I mean, obviously, it's no one knows everything, and I'm not a nosy person, but he elected to step away, and he's just been remarried, and when I talked to him, he was doing well. We have not gotten out and been able to play golf this summer, but the last time I saw him, he was doing well. So obviously, we're wishing him the best. He's only about 20 miles down the road now. He lives in the Ankeny area, and it seems to be doing well the last time I spoke with him. But obviously, going to miss seeing him on the recruiting trail, which we did later in the summer, and then going to miss him here at the Big Four and out recruiting and competing against each other. That's one of the great things. Such a great guy, and you go out there, class act, and get to compete against people like that. You really enjoy it, even whether you win or lose. It's always good to see good people.
That's what's so unique about it is you all know each other for so long. So I feel like it's an easy transition. Like when Coach Gillespie took over the Iowa program, you've known her forever.
Right.
So it wasn't like, even though she's entering a new program, I would imagine it was an easy transition to kind of plug everything in and keep things status quo when it comes to the scheduling in the fall and during the regular season. Is that accurate?
You're exactly right. I've known Rich. I think this is year 30 or 31 for me overall, not as a head coach. And I've known Rich as long as I've been in the sport. He's at I think the first time I met him, he might have been at Indiana. I know for sure the time with Coach Blevins, who I respect a ton, and when he was at Iowa, and then he's at Drake over 20 years, and the same with Coach Jacobs. I mean, since he's been there, it's getting close to 20 years that I've known him. And Renee, we go back. I knew her when she's head coach at Bradley. So I mean that was long before UCF. It was Bradley and then Texas Tech, right? And then she left, started the program at Texas Tech, and then went and I believe she started the one at UCF also.
That's
So
correct. Yeah.
we've both had the honor of starting programs, and that's a great thing. So I've probably known Renee for close to 30 years too. So it's you build those relationships, and even though you want to when you're within the state borders, obviously you want to win the recruiting battle and also the battles on the game. But I mean, we see each other quite a bit, and they're all class acts. I mean, that's what makes it easy. There's really no shenanigans going on behind the scenes. There's no we want to win, but we're not going to lie, cheat, and steal to do it. And that makes it a lot easier.
And you all have had the pride of the state. I mean, it's a unique bond. We don't see that everywhere in all sports. I don't know if I don't want to say you take it for, or do you not? Do you appreciate that you've got this little camaraderie, little club, if you will, where you're competing, but you also help each other out and help the state. I mean, it's grown. I mean, I've said this weekend, to me, is one of the marquee weekends in fall ball is this tournament right here. This is the one that people circle when you look at fall ball schedules. This is the one that people look at.
Absolutely. The good crowds, like I said, the high school. I mean, we had people already writing emails about getting tickets, and admission's free. So I mean, come on out. So, but I mean, whenever Iowa and Iowa State gets together, that's a big deal with the Cyhawk. I mean, obviously has nothing to do with the Cyhawk Trophy. That's in the spring, but whenever us two get together. Last year, the crowd, they had standing room only in Iowa City. I think 2 years ago, we set an attendance record at the time, and we had them in the stands, and we had pulled down we have padded walls now, but we'd pulled down the windscreen, had them all the way around, and had set a record crowd. So whenever we get together, and when the weather's good, we've had big crowds at Drake when we've played down in Des Moines, and the same in Cedar Falls. And the main thing in the spring is, getting good weather. When you have good weather, the people will show up, the fans will show up. And we found that with the fall tournament too, with the Big Four. When the weather's good and people get out, and obviously us and Iowa. I don't know how Coach Calvert and Coach Jacobs set theirs up, but we do it on a non-football weekend, and there's really not anything going on outside of other Olympic sports like volleyball or soccer, and we also try to schedule it around soccer because we share the same complex. So obviously looking really forward to it, and getting out and being able to compete against each other.
That's smart. That's creative scheduling. That's smart. And it's part of I mean, you schedule, I don't know if you're trying to get RPI points in the fall or not, but you schedule pretty tough in the fall. You don't go easy on your players there. This is because this is the beginning of a tough stretch here to conclude the fall. You got other D1 program. You got
Right.
Minnesota come in. Is that by design? Just take me through that philosophy.
Well, I mean, obviously, when with travel budget and everything, when the Big Four is here, then we'll try to play on the road one place to, like I was talking to you off air before we started. It gives an opportunity to get the freshmen to see what travel is like, what we do, and kind of give them an idea of what's going to happen in when we get into the season. Obviously, we started off with DMAC last Wednesday or Thursday, because the weather pushed it back a day. But and they've been to the College World Series for JUCO. 10 out of the last 11, 11 out of the last 12. Very good start. And what I like about that game is you have young JUCO players that want to be seen, and they come out and they compete really hard and they play really hard, and Coach Ligori has a good program. So you go out and they test you. And then this past weekend we had Nyack, who was second or third in the same conference with DMAC. We played them in the second game, and played North Dakota came down, and so we had a D1 school there. And then we have the Big Four: Drake, Iowa, and then UNI on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Then we go up next Sunday, a week from this Sunday, and play North Dakota State and Minnesota. I'm really, really excited about that one. I'm Coach Mueller and Darren and I, once again, probably been friends for over 30 years, known Piper a long time. We just kind of both hit her up and said, hey, if I travel 3 hours and Jamie travels 3.5, you want to throw something together, and she did it for us. So I'm really looking forward to playing up in Minneapolis a week from Sunday. But we got to take care of this weekend first. But we got 60. We're playing 61s this fall, and I know other people. Geography, it might be a little bit easier for them to do that. It can be difficult for us.
It is. That's incredible there. Let's talk a bit about your team. You have a core from last year's team. You had off to a slow start last season. Things weren't going well early in the year, but then I'll never forget you had that incredible win against Oklahoma State, and your team was a different team from that point on. I think you went on a run. You beat Baylor, Oak State. You got to the semifinals of the Big 12. I think you were 6 over 500 or last a month of the season. When you look back at last season, what comes to mind? And certainly, you wish you would have started that trend earlier, but still, that momentum for the veterans, the returners, that's got to be something that they can think about moving forward to this upcoming season.
Well, first off, the veterans have a bad taste in their mouth. We made to the regional final in 21, still got some core players from that. In 22, we were a bubble team. It could be argued, being with my committee experience, it could be argued that we should have been in. It can be argued that we shouldn't have been in, and we fell on the wrong side of the fence this past year. Like I was telling you before we started, we were 5 games below 500. And you think about 4 losses to OU, 3 to Texas, 2 to Oklahoma State, 2 to Arkansas. And when you go down the list and you start adding up, I think RPI, I don't have the numbers, and I've kind of, I'm always forward looking, but I think at one time we had the 17th toughest schedule. Well, the guy sitting right here probably needs to schedule better, because you're going to get RPI naturally. But I thought it was a team that could do that. And I think what we learned with the team, like you and I talked before, we didn't get out of the gates. We didn't play well for the first time. I think going into the Dome tournament this year, we were 13-1 in the Dome, that you and I host, and we ended up going 2-3 that weekend. We got out of the gate slow there, and then we had a stretch where we went 1-10. And when you're 10 games below 500 before you get out of February, it's hard to make up. But credit to our team, we got on a roll, played well in Big 12. If we could have just got out of the gate better. And that's on me. I got to figure out a way to get us out of the gate. We've done it in the past, and we didn't really do anything different, but I should have been able to spot that and do some things differently to maybe add a spark to it. But I think at the end of the day, this team knows that the importance of getting out of the gate. And but then I turn around and take us to Puerto Vallarta, and we play Washington and Duke to start the season. So I don't know if this old guy learned a lesson with that, but I think we'll be better prepared for that, and we have the cast or the core to do very well.
Well, and I would imagine too the players. I mean, you could tell them all you want, but they went through it. They know. I would imagine the leaders on this team will tell the players, "Hey, let's be ready to go for day one, opening day. Don't take it for granted because of look what happened last year." I would imagine that's an experience they went going through that they'll learn from that and be better for us. I mean, you could talk about scheduling all you want, but until you go through that, I think players got the message, right? I
Yeah.
would imagine.
Well, yeah, I think they got the message and they got the schedule that they yearned for. They want to play outside of conference. They want to play the SEC, the Big Ten, the ACC, and we put that kind of schedule together, and we just got out of the gate slow. And like I said, we'll reevaluate that. I think I learned some things from it. I mean, after 30 years, if I quit learning, then there's no sense in doing this anymore. So I think there's some things that we'll do differently approaching this, and I think they learn from it. And if we learn from it, then we should be able to get out of the gate and do well. And I have full faith in this team that they will do that.
Let's talk about this roster. Who is your leaders on this team, either from leading from example or from a vocal standpoint? Who are the leaders because I know you're a big believer in your leaders leading the way as players. Who are those this year?
Well, we're obviously player driven, and we have been from Sammy Williams on down to last year. It was Angelina Allen and Malaysia Ochoa and Ellie Spellhog, and this year, we obviously still have Malaysia Ochoa back and Angelina Allen. We got COVID seniors that are coming back for their last year, and Carly Charles, Alicia Ranches, and Carly Spellhog has taken her COVID year. So there's a good core right there that has been to a regional final and has been on the cusp of being on the fence, and then last year having the bad taste. So, in everything, you can go back and see where you could have flipped some games and everything. And I've talked to our players about this. Hey, if we would have done this, we got to learn from this, right? And if we would have done that, we got to learn from that. And when you bring it up and to that core of five and talk to about what went wrong last year, they get it. They knew. And I think now they'll take a little bit more control quicker. And we already saw that this fall. We've gotten off to a slow start. And this fall, I mean, we won all three games, but I saw those leaders coming up and saying, "Hey, this is not acceptable. We've got to pick it up now." And then we were able to right the ship within the game. But that was good to see from a growth standpoint, because they were able to do that. They were able to recognize that, and they corrected it within the game rather than losing 2 or 3 and wondering what the heck's going on. So I can see that growth right there, and if we can continue that and not allow that to happen for a stretch of 5, 6, 9 games, 10 games, then we'll be fine.
You mentioned obviously Ochoa. To many, last year felt like a breakout, at least to the people that didn't follow the program on a daily basis. What makes her so unique, special from that standpoint? From last year and moving forward to this year.
Oh man, I can say so many great things about her. First off, she is a great leader. She leads by example, speaks when she has to, but she just comes to work every day. I mean, she has you don't want to talk about the past, but you kind of have to get to the future. You have to see where you've been to see where you're going. And she's from a leader standpoint, she's very Sammy Williams. She's very, very much like Sammy Williams in the way she goes about her business. She treats people right. She comes to work every day. and kind of just works her tail end off. I mean, Sammy Williams was good because she was willing to do what other people didn't, and she was hitting extra on her own on days off. She was coming before, staying after, and trying to bring people along. And I think the maturation of Malaysia and what's helping her being able to help people last year, I felt kind of led her into bringing people along. And same way with Angelina Allen. They do a great job of involving people and trying to get people to come along instead of going out and kind of putting their nose to the grindstone alone, bringing other players. And that, I think that helps culture. I think that helps you get better. And hopefully that'll pay dividends for them again this year.
You mentioned earlier Ellie Spellhog on your pitching staff. She obviously was a big leader of your team. You don't replace people like that. That being said, how do you feel about your pitching staff? You've got the depth, but who has those intangibles that Ellie brought?
I mean, I think Carly Charles can, if she stays healthy. Last year, she was nicked up quite a bit. Her innings were down. Saya Swain had a decent year and is looking good this fall. The pitching's really been looking good in first. Obviously, it's 3 games, but it's right out of the hat. I mean, we've played 10, 9, and 9. So and those innings, we've only allowed 2 runs. I think what I've noticed so far in this fall, we're not giving away the fall passes or the free passes that we was a bugaboo for us last year. But I think Saya and Carly's got a chance to be really good leaders for us. We had a freshman, Jaden Ralston, or that's a sophomore now. She threw really well at times. Last year when she was healthy, she was nicked up and had around 40 to 50, 60 innings. So I think those 3 could be keys. And we have 2 freshmen, and Aziza Rodriguez from Southern California and Lauren Skirman from Delaware that could pitch. And I feel like we have a chance to have a really, really, really good staff.
What are a couple of things you've learned about this group early on in the fall and you want to continue to learn before February?
Pitching's been good. I mean, I hope that continues. Obviously, the defense has been better. We lose Casey Simpson. We still have Ranches. Casey Simpson, in all of my years, I've had some good second basemen, but to go out and consistently fill 950, 960, 970 like she did over a 5-year, I think McKenna Andrews is going to have to step in that slot, or Sophie Morris. A sophomore is Andrews and a senior in Morris. I think they're going to have to step up and play. In the first few games, freshman Isabel Nassan has done pretty well at third. She came in, we were recruiting her to replace Ranches, but obviously with COVID, she's moved over to third and done a nice job. We got a good battle with Ashley Miner there at third too. That's a sophomore that got quite a bit of time last year. Spellhog's anchoring down first. We made the switch mid-season last year and moved Angelina out. They just weren't feeling comfortable, and I think not comfortable defensively made them uncomfortable offensively. And part of that spark was when we moved. 2 things happened. We moved Malaysia Ochoa from cleanup to the leadoff, and then flopped Allen and Spellhog. Spellhog returned back to first instead of playing outfield, and then I think that really sparked us on. But a lot of good. There's a good mixture of experience and inexperience in the infield, and the newbies, the freshmen, and Andrews, a sophomore. I think have all the tools to do it. They just need the game experience, and I think that's what the fall's helping with. But then you have Ochoa in center that's obviously locking down the outfield, and Tiana Pools back and right. So and then we just have to decide. We have Camille is back behind the plate, and we have a freshman in Maddie Knowles that's providing some depth there at the catching position. So we have some experience behind the plate back from last year.
Isn't it amazing that one little tweak moving a player from one position to another or moving them in the lineup can make a big difference. It's just wild sometimes how this stuff works.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, in Malaysia's case, it all lead off. I mean, she's a disciplined hitter to begin with, and then to move her from four, and who knows that she would produce 3, 4, 5 power numbers and RBI numbers uh, once we moved her to the leadoff. And, that production didn't help there. Uh, Early on in the season when we were struggling, we did it to provide a spark because she's disciplined, gets on base and can steal a bag. And when we made that switch, it just kind of she got on, and then maybe what happened is then you start going in and you start frenzy hitting a little bit, and you get a team on a roll, and that's what happened. We made those two, basically three switches, one of them defensive, two, and one batting order. So just the flopping of first baseman Allen going to left and left fielder Spellhog coming back to her natural position in college at first, and then moving Ochoa to the leadoff. That really kind of sparked that run.
this is why I'll never be a coach. I could never it's things like that. Like just I would never be able to figure that stuff out. Like how does that one little move make it different? But it does. You're right. It's a
Yeah.
big difference in each it's wild how some things could trigger a player or a run.
Well, and that, Eric, that gets back to communicating with your players,
Sure.
just having conversations with Spellhog and Allen. She was uncomfortable at first for whatever reason, was struggling a little bit defensively, started not getting balls that she was used to getting, not digging balls out of the dirt, which Spellhog's really good at that. And Spellhog kind of misread a couple of balls early and kind of lost a little confidence, and just talked to him, said, hey, why don't we try this? And they were both for it, and then they both took off, and both of their offensive numbers, they were struggling offensively too, so that helped spark them. And in that stretch too, we had something that if you go up and down the lineup, Allen was nearly a 300, or if not a 300 hitter her freshman year. Spellhog's been a career 300 hitter. She was hitting 180. Allen was hitting 180. And then you go down the lineup, we had 4 or 5 players that were hitting well below their normal average. And that was one of the things that kind of got us in the bind that we were in. We had 4 or 5 players that were not hitting anywhere near their career averages. And then once they kind of got to feeling, it's not like I had to use this analogy with him to say, it's you can't wait for the weather to warm up in Ames like you can in Major League Baseball. I mean, we only play 2 or 3 months. That they play 6 months. We can't wait till the weather warms to get better. And they were able to right the ship and get going. It was just a little bit late for us.
So we're speaking with Iowa State head coach Jamie Pinkerton here on In the Circle. We've talked about this now for the last few years. I feel about which is this year of the Big 12. We've been talking about it, and we're almost here. We are. You got this unique year in the Big 12 where you have Oklahoma and Texas for the last year. You got UCF, Houston, BYU for softball coming in. There's a lot, and you see on social media, even with the other sports, kind of the excitement. I get a sense this league has got a little more energy, a little more excitement here going on. I mean, certainly UCF, I could tell you, is excited with the volleyball, the soccer. BYU people are excited. Even Cincinnati, who doesn't have softball, but they're excited in their other sports. Do you sense that from the league? There's this excitement. I don't know how to describe it. Energy in the past year from this league that there's this exuberance here that we maybe haven't seen in a while from from the Big 12 from that standpoint. Do you sense that?
Yeah, I do. I for this year and for the future.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, no one wants to lose cornerstones like Oklahoma and Texas, but that's the world we're in right now, right? And last year we were the #1 RPI conference. This year, if everyone plays as expected or get even better, and with the adding of BYU, UCF, and Houston, I see, like we were talking off air, I see this as a number one or number two conference RPI wise. And last year it was number one, and that's hard to swallow for a lot of people, right? I mean, every SEC is a fabulous conference. We know that year in and year out, they're there. But last year we were able to, move into the one slot. But the good thing about the Big 12, even I feel like with the 10 schools, we have one of the top two. If not, we could possibly be number one, depending on if all the teams have the seasons that they're expecting. And then when Oklahoma and Texas do move to the SEC, I still think we're number two, where it can be, and we're all biased, right? But I feel like just from top to bottom, softball wise, BYU traditionally, I mean, like 17 out of the last 19 years, they've been to the NCAAs, UCF, and what Bears doing down there. And I feel like Houston will be traditionally is very good, and I feel like Coach Vesely, looking at some of the recruits they're getting and some of the players they brought in the transfer portal, I think they're going to be much improved this year. So. As my dad wants to say, is put your hard hat on and pack your lunch pail. It's going to be a fun season. It's going to be a lot of hard work.
Well, and again, next year, not to look ahead, but you got Arizona, Arizona State, Utah coming in.
Yep.
Like, and I've said this when that all is happening. Look, I mean, real life as a whole, that's a wild topic. We could spend hours on what's going on with college sports and all that. But just from a softball standpoint, and I said this, with these additions, this league is still going to be a top two league. And I think that's a message that has to be, because I think the thinking was at the beginning of all this, well, once Oklahoma and Texas leaves, the Big 12 is kind of weird. No, it's going to remain super strong as a top two league in this league. I gave the stat since 2017, every team in the Big 12 except Kansas has been to a regional final in the NCAA tournament. And think of all the teams that have been to Oklahoma City and the super regionals from this league. I mean, this league is loaded, Coach. I hate to, I'm going to spoil this. I can't wait for how you coaches figure out the preseason poll, because there's going to be good teams that are going to be ranked low and going to have a chip on their shoulder. They're going to feel disrespected, but it's really because of the depth of the league.
Absolutely. I think we'll have to do a lot of studying. I mean, and see what's happening. I think there's going to be I think there's going to be a lot of thought in that. And, we all know that preseason polls at the end of the day don't mean anything, but I'm interested to see. I feel like Kansas has improved. I feel like Texas Tech under Coach Snyder is much improved. I feel like we're still right there. What Coach Moore and Baylor did last year. I mean, they retooled pretty quickly. I just think top to bottom, it gets back to your argument that it could be a top two conference. Now, if we wouldn't have added Arizona State, and Utah, then the argument could be made. Okay, 2, 3, and 4 is going to be a jumble between the ACC, the Big 10, and the Big 12. But I think with those three schools coming in the history of Arizona and Arizona State going to the World Series, and hey, Utah's very good. And obviously we know they went to the World Series last year. I think, like you said, I think it is a top two conference, but the other conferences are pretty good too.
Oh, no question about that. But I think the point too, the Big 12 could be in that position where the SEC and the Pac-12 have been, where you can get the majority, if not all, your teams into the field. Like, I think that's kind of the underrated part of all this moving forward, is this league, if everybody takes care of business non-conference, has a chance to put, that's how strong this league can be. It's proven it, because it's proven it on the field. It's not like, well, we're hopeful. Everybody's proven themselves over this last handful of years that I've described.
Well, and just by sheer numbers, we could sit here and make an argument that right now this conference could go 6, 7 deep, right? And could possibly go more, depending on, if we flip a few wins. I mean, last year we could have had 5, and then Kansas, is getting better. I mean, they had a better year. So if they keep improving, Tech was close. So if they continue that, that steady climb, I mean, there's 3 of us right there are right on the doorstep, and that all of a sudden, and you add UCF and BYU, then all of a sudden now you're and Houston traditionally you're talking 6, 7, 8. So you're absolutely right. And then in the future, adding those three, you're still talking 6, 7, 8 deep.
It's gonna be wild. It's unique. I hope somebody documents this because I feel like we're in an era where people are going to be talking about this like 10, 20 years from now. Like I feel like that's the kind of era that we're in here. We're seeing some historic stuff. I think it's going to be transpiring before our very own eyes.
Well, and everyone sits here and talks about this, coming up 4 or 5 years. I think it's more in the forefront of our minds, but this has been going on since 1989 when Arkansas left the Southwest Conference. I mean, that was really the first of realignment, and then the Southwest Conference fractured and everybody went. So, I mean, this has been going on for 30 years. It's just a little bit more at the forefront because we have social media, we have more linear channels, and we have more streaming. So, and obviously there's a lot more money, television money and everything, but conference realignment, it's not new to the landscape, right?
No, it's true. You've seen. I mean, the Big 12 has gone through many changes over the years, but I think the thing, and we've talked about this in the past, the unity within the league from the members that are staying, with bringing in the new members. Like this is a prideful league with a lot of prideful people, and you don't wish any ill will on others. I mean, obviously the Pac-12, it is what happened there. It is what it is, but the Big 12, a lot of people were trying to put the graves on them in a couple of years, and you're right now as strong as ever. Big media deal. Like Brett Yormark, the commissioner, I would imagine there's a lot of pride within the league of holding together through tough times and adverse, and now you're seeing the kind of the light in the tunnel, if you will.
Right. Well, and I don't wish this on. I mean, this is affecting a lot of student athletes, right? Because of travel and everything. And I will tell you this: I was at Iowa State when Missouri and Colorado and Texas A&M left. We had I had I can't speak for the athletic department, but I had the feeling that the Pac-12 had, and knowing that we could possibly be in a position that Oregon State and Washington State are in. And then, then when OU and Texas, decided they were going to go, everyone, the grave was being dug, and maybe even had a spade of dirt or two thrown on us. I mean, I was concerned then. I mean, you and I even talked about it in text messaging. You and I do a good job of keeping up with each other. And then then UCF, BYU, and Houston comes and kind of stabilized it. And then with what happened, like you said, you don't wish that on anything. I'm a traditionalist. I like all of that, but that's not the world we're in today, and
No,
it's above my pay grade.
it
So
is, but a credit to you, because you've always, even during all this is going on, you've kind of been even keel about it. You've kind of level headed. You said, "Hey, listen, don't jump to conclusions. Do not believe what you're hearing. Give it time." And part of it because you've seen it all, like right.
right.
I mean, you've seen it all, so I think that's part of it. But you kind of told me this would be be patient, and it is part of the college landscape. That you've seen.
And I just felt that way. One, I've seen a lot of it, but two, at the end of the day, I kind of talk to you kind of like I coach. Yeah, things are gonna go wrong in the game. I can get my hype number up, but I usually stay calm. People say I'm stoic or I have no emotion, but people don't know me like you do, and I think maybe on these interviews they might see me as a different person and how I coach. And I mean, we're all good people, right? And I don't wish any ill will on anyone, and I know exactly when all this was going down, I have felt that feeling twice, and things. I just know that like I think my exact words were is after all this is done, Iowa State's still going to play softball. We don't know, we and back in I think it was 2011. I forgot Nebraska left too. So I mean, I didn't know if it was back then. I knew that we would play softball. I didn't know if it would be a retooled Big 12 or something else. And we knew that with this Oklahoma and Texas thing that things were going to change. I just knew and tried to tell our players that we're going to play softball. We just don't know who all the members are going to be, the cast of characters, right? So it is, like you said, probably the best term is it is what it is, and just tell me where to go and we'll play.
No question about it. If only you were this even keel, though, when it comes to your beloved Kansas City Chiefs. Because when I've asked you about the Chiefs, you're always like, I don't know. Like last year, you're like, I don't know. The line, I don't know. We don't have, I don't, we missed Tyreek. I don't know. I don't think this is the year. And what happens? You guys find a way. You win the Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes goes on top, beats the Bengals in a dramatic AFC title game, beat the Eagles in a wild shootout Super Bowl. I don't think I've, yeah, I mean, on what well, how does this Super Bowl compare to the one where you beat the 49ers a few years ago? Is it is just as special? Is it fun? How does it feel?
Yeah. When you remember watching it when you were 5 years old when they beat the Vikings, that was a long. I think I told you the story about going to the AFC. I laid down some bills and went to the AFC Championship game and thought we were going to the Super Bowl, and then D Ford was offside, and then everyone knows Brady drove the field, tied it, and then Mahomes never got the ball. But I think that's I never lose faith. I just think as a coach, we analyze things, right? And that's how I relax. I sit and I mean, I watch Iowa State sports. I'm a big Cyclone fan, a big Matt Campbell fan, and Bill Finley and TJ Otzenberger. All of our coaches, I follow. I'm really into all of our sports, and I'm into Royals and Chiefs and Minnesota Wild hockey starting. So I'm a hockey fan. A lot of people don't know that. I just set, but as a coach, I know you sit there and you see the pieces that are leaving. And when Tyreek got traded, I'm sitting there going, well, in my analogy, there goes Sammy Williams. So how are we going to retool as a coach? And I think in that, I think Andy Reid has proven that he's one of the greats. And they always retool, and they have a generational talent at quarterback if he stays healthy. Even when he's not healthy, they figured out a way to win. And this year I'm sitting and watching. They lose the right and left tackle to free agency, right? They lose the top of their secondary, and Thornhill and some good defensive players. But I haven't watched the Bear game yet. I DVR'd it because we were playing, and then I didn't get to watch the Lions game because uh, NBC was Next Star and they were off DirecTV. So, and I'm too tight to buy Peacock.
Wow. Oh,
So I missed that game. So I haven't gotten a chance to really watch them. I watched the Jaguar game, but I still think there's obstacles, obviously, and one of them is wearing the is it they still call it aqua down there.
that's right. We're still at Aqua
I,
Dolphins
I
there, my
wanted to
friend.
text you the other night, and I didn't want to get you too excited after the beatdown of the Broncos,
You know,
but I was
yeah.
going to text you fins up, but I realized that we play each other in Germany later.
How about that? How whack is that? That could become a marquee game. You got Tyreek Hill and the Chiefs, and it's in Germany of all places. Like, are
Yeah,
you
at
kidding
eight at
me?
eight at 8:30 in the morning.
Oh, what are we doing? That would
So
be amazing. If I mean, first of all, if the game was at Arrowhead, I mean, Tyreek Hill's return, that would be an incredible storyline over at Miami. But no, we got a Germany gets to watch Mahomes and Tua potentially
yeah,
play. Well, the Bears game, spoiler, Travis Kelce has a friend now in the suite.
yeah.
Taylor Swift, I've heard.
If I hadn't even been able to watch that, I saw that on it comes up on Twitter. So
Is that like?
uh,
I'm wondering, is that anything was talked about? I mean, I don't know if any of your players are Taylor Swift fans. I got to believe there's some that are Taylor Swift fans.
yeah, I don't, it wasn't mentioned, but
Wow.
I
Okay.
mean,
Okay.
because we played and we had practice yesterday, and it wasn't mentioned, but it's interesting, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't know until my daughter was a freshman in high school. Taylor Swift came to Wells Fargo Arena in Des Moines,
Wow.
and she wanted to go, and Mike Bosch.
Yeah.
I was talking with him. I said, "Hey, we were out somewhere, and I forgot where we were." And he said, "You don't know who Taylor Swift is?" I go, "No, I don't know any of her music." And then I ended up taking my son and my wife and my daughter to the concert, and I go, "She's pretty good." and
Wow, this is
and
breaking news here. Is there a Swifty?
yeah.
Are you a Swifty fan here?
I wouldn't say I'm a Swifty, but
All right.
uh, I went and watched, and some of her songs and some of her work. Her performances are very good, and I'm trying to think. This was probably in 2011 or 12. I mean, she's married, and I'm a grandpa now, so it's been a while, and that's one thing she was a kid that really never ever asked for anything, and then she asked, and then I tried to find a way to get her there, and that was something that we started doing together. We've seen Rascal Flatts together. We've seen a couple of others. Hey, and George Strait's coming. I got George Strait tickets for he'll be in Jack Trice Stadium. So I dabble in a few concerts. James Taylor, probably one of the best concerts I've ever seen. Vince Gill was good.
Ooh.
My players don't even know who Vince Gill is. I
No,
said,
they're not gonna know. No,
yeah, and I
some of the
said,
audience won't even either. Yeah.
if you ever want to go see a guy that can sing and play anything that has strings, I think that guy played every instrument. And it was a small setting. It was an auditorium type setting, and I saw him in Fayetteville at Walton Arts Center, and
Oh,
the guy was fabulous. I
pretty
mean,
good.
just sit there, mandolin, banjo, fiddle, uh, electric guitar, YouTube him.
Locked in.
Anyone out there that doesn't know Vince Gill, everyone thinks he's one of the best outside of Chet Atkins, might be one of the best guitarists out there.
Vince Gill. Yeah, I do remember. I know Vince Gill.
Yeah,
That's a good name to drop there.
yeah.
Now, if this Kelsey Swift thing continues, you have an excuse now to tell the family, "Hey, let's go to the Chiefs game with me. You might run into Taylor Swift, even if she's not there. Who cares? You're at the game. You have an excuse."
I don't think I'm one of those that's going to clog the corridors to go. They're humans, right? I mean, they're people. Let them walk out the door and go have dinner. I mean,
So the media is obviously the Chiefs narrative is who's the receiver that's going to step up, right? You got Kelsey, but you have all these new, young receivers. You lose Schuster to New England, all that. The media is making a big deal of that. Do you worry about it? Because I know you were worried about that when you mentioned when Tyree got traded. Are you still worried about that, or is it one of those that's like, they'll figure it out?
well, I mean, obviously, it was a little bit of an issue when Kelsey didn't play in game one, but you got to think about it. Sky Moore's never been a starter, right? I mean, so he's essentially been thrust into the limelight. I want to know more about the story of Mahomes working out with everybody at TCU, and the receiver that the Chargers got in front of him. I've lost the guy's name
The
now.
TCU kid, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and then the secret workout that they had with the kid from SMU, Rashid
Rice, yeah,
Rice,
yeah.
and then that's who they end up
Yep.
drafting. And I think if he stays healthy, that he's shown some glimpses. But I think that they Watson from Tampa, the one they picked up from Tampa Bay, is a good receiver, and he's proven to be that. But I think they're going to do it by committee like they did last year. And then MVS. I mean, I saw a highlight that he took the top off and got a 50-yarder, but then they called the penalty on Taylor for not being online, and now you're seeing everything on the internet about all the other tackles doing it, and that they're just singling out Taylor. So who knows? But I think if they get the running backs going like McKinnon and Edwards-Helaire and Pacheco, if they run the ball, that I think that'll loosen it up for the young guys.
And their defense looks good. I mean, no, it's just 3 games and all that, but their defense. I mean, they got Jones back. They worked all that out. Their
Yeah.
defense still it looks more athletic than ever before. Actually, I think they like it.
Well, I mean, they got Chris. Like you said, you got Jones back, but I'm pleasantly surprised. And Nick Wright, the Chief fan extraordinaire on TV,
Yeah.
he's now. I kind of wish he'd kind of quell down because he said they were going to go 20-0, and then
Oh no, come on.
yeah, I mean, before the year, and then now he's on there piping up that after week 3 they're a top 3 defense. Okay, it's cool. The Jets a little bit. The Bears are not very good. The Jaguars, I think that would giving them 9 points and not scoring a touchdown, offensive touchdown was good, but they could have had an off game. And then I'm not sold on the Lions yet. I think they got a chance to be a playoff team, but I don't think I think maybe they do win the North. I thought the Vikings still would be pretty decent, but that's turning out to not be true. So maybe Detroit does win the AFC North or NFC North, but I knew. And you think about that, they held Detroit to 13 points. One of them
Yeah,
was a pick six.
right. No, that's right. I think I've been impressed with their defense. I
Yeah,
think it's looking pretty good. I mean, the AFC's loaded. I mean, you got Buffalo still in the mix.
yeah.
Miami's obviously off to an amazing start. I mean, what's that like for you? Because you saw Tyreek Hill do that for your own team, so you're not surprised what he's doing. I mean, he's amazing to watch. To me,
Right.
he's the best receiver in football, and I think maybe part of the reason he left Kansas City was to kind of get that respect to say, hey, I'm a pretty good receiver myself. He's proven that he's been a difference maker for them.
Yeah, but the same thing's happening in Miami as it happened in Kansas City, right? He's got Waddle and a couple of other weapons over there that's opening up. He's not being double teamed. And the same thing he had Kelsey in Kansas City that could go the short route and let him, blow the top off the defense. And he had games like that, but when they do cover two and put a lid on it, he struggles. Game two this year for Miami, he had 45, 50 yards. And, but where does it go? Is, Tua and Miami going to make the adjustments when they put, two or three deep and have someone cover and then have someone come up and double cover. He still has the ability to get loose, right? So
Yeah.
it'll be interesting as the year goes of how defense. It'll be interesting to see what Kansas City does with him. They practiced with him every day.
Right. I mean,
What do they
oh,
know?
why
What
is
do
this
they?
in Germany, man?
Yeah, he could. He could. We know that he can go for 200 in a game, or you can hold him to 40 or 50. And if Miami and Kansas City match up, I hope he's healthy. I don't ever want to see a team win a game because someone's best player or second best player is out. And I mean, it's a violent sport, and you want to see everybody stay healthy. So uh, I think there's four or five teams in the AFC that could win it. Miami, Buffalo. I think the Ravens, Kansas City. The Cincinnati. I mean, there's several. I think Jacksonville could be scary. So I think there's several teams that
I
can
think
be.
Pittsburgh too. I mean, before Mike
Pittsburgh
Tomlin knows
always
what he's doing.
plays.
Yeah.
Mike Tomlin might be one of my favorite coaches. I mean, the guy just wins.
No, it's true. It's very true. All right,
Not as I like Andy, but
fair.
but I like Mike. I think he's a heck of a coach.
Rightfully so. Absolutely. Real two quick things. You mentioned you're a Minnesota Wild fan. Where did that
Yeah,
where did that come from?
I got hooked. Well, my wife's from Minnesota, so we make when we lived in Oklahoma and here, obviously, I have the hockey package, so that's one thing I will put money on. I won't buy Peacock, but I'll pay 169.99 for hockey. Yeah, I don't get Bally North. I get Bally Midwest and Kansas City. So, but just being 3.5 hours away and seeing it on TV, and I think Kirill Kaprizov is a budding star in the NHL, and he's just fun to watch skate and just if there's a sport my wife grew up knowing a little bit about, it was hockey. Being from Minnesota, they do call it the state of hockey, right? So probably just being up in this area and getting hooked on it when I first moved to Iowa here in Ames in 2009. So, and it's kind of a transition. It's kind of the slow time. You're in individuals, and you kind of have evenings off because you practice and then you come in, and before you start talking in February, it's really the sport that I can watch every day, or every other day, because October, November, December, January, you get four months of the season before you start traveling. It's not the case for baseball. Well, the Royals weren't fun to watch this year. And it's when you get into recording, I do a lot of DVRing of the Chiefs. So it's I don't know. I don't know if your listeners like hearing about all this stuff, but
I mean, we do. I mean, listen,
it's always
we're in
been a,
hockey, but we're in hockey hot state of Florida, my friend, with the Panthers and their run to the Stanley Cup final, the
in the
Lightning.
Lightning.
I'm
Yeah.
telling you, we're a big hockey deal. We'll let you go on this. You mentioned coaches you like. One I know you did like a lot was Courtney Martinez, who's now at Utah.
Yep.
You just talk about her and what she meant to your program, and then obviously taking over as Lindsay now on the staff and those adjustments.
Well, anytime it's, I mean, the continuity that we had with Courtney and Kate and myself and, Peter Suarez and that first 4.5 years, we're building this thing. And I mean, I am not when I was young, I was a micromanager and I, could lose my temper and didn't see a lot of different visions that other people might have and hear ideas. And I think, that as I became a head coach and started talking to other coaches and having assistants, if you go back and look at my history, I've been blessed that everywhere I've been. Arkansas, I had the same staff. Montana, I had the same staff except for the GA second assistant because we didn't have a paid second assistant. Here with Courtney and Kate and Pete, and then Pete went to A&M, and then now he's at Texas Tech, and then we've lost a couple of director of ops, which I have an opening right now. If anyone out there has anybody that wants to be a director of ops, we just lost our director of ops. So I've had 2 in 2 years now. And promise it's not because I'm hard to work for. But back to Courtney, it was just really good with her and Kate, just the way they approach things, the way they approach the players. We're player driven. I think we are transformational coaches, not transactional. I know that's cliche, but I mean, our number one saying to our women every day is your schools first. And I know, I hear recruiting that, some people are not getting to major around the country and what they want to. They're kind of getting funneled into majors that doesn't miss softball. That'll never happen here because if someone would have told my daughter, who's making 6 figures at 28 years old as a mechanical engineer, they would have lost me and my daughter right off the bat. But I just think I feel like my place on earth is to mentor young women and empower young women to become independent enough where they can support a family or they can make it alone. And that's how I taught my daughter. That's how I've taught my son. And I think Court bought into that. I think Kate buys into that. And Court is just such a good human on top of being an excellent coach. And to lose that, it was hard, but I know, to be able to get back closer to home and there were, financial things there that obviously that was afforded to her. And she talked to me about it. I mean, you and I both know she's had several occasions that she could have left. She had 3 in 1 week until she took the Utah job. And she was very transparent. She asked advice. She asked financially at her age. I mean, she picked my brain because, I got more years behind me than ahead of me. And I just said, just the situation. And I know Amy Hogue's a great person. Amy and I chatted. And I just said, Court, you're an hour flight from home. I lost a parent a couple of years ago. You can hear it's going to take you all day to get home. By the time you fly somewhere there, your parents are, getting older. I just thought, just with the conversation we had, and I wasn't pushing her away. And I always told her in these conversations, I'm never pushing you away. You're asking the question and I'm being honest with you. And I just thought it was just a situation where, in my opinion, she couldn't pass up on it financially or family wise. And it's our loss is Utah's gain, and she's going to be a hell of a head coach someday. And miss her dearly every day. I don't talk to her as much. You think when you leave, you'll talk, but life goes on. I have a grandbaby and a wife, and she has a family. I mean, I wish we talked more. We still do, and I wish her the best of luck, except for when Utah comes in the conference and we play 3 games. So,
Oh,
but
that's right. Yeah, I just forgot.
yeah,
Just yeah, of course
yeah,
they're going to be
great.
this thing.
Yeah, so I'll definitely have to change up my habits because that's the one thing she always got on. She says, "Pink, you're too predictable," and I mean that was good. That was good. She pushed me and she helped me get better. And like I always say, if I'm not getting better, then I need to hang it up and let someone else take the reins. And I feel like I strive to get better every day, and that comes from staff like Kate and Court and now Lindsay. Lindsay's been a great addition, and has the same philosophy as Court. They're different people, but it's what I need on this staff, and is them being very great, and putting the really good thing about our staff is softball's what we do. It's not who we are. That's what I tell our women all the time. They get caught up in the failure of the sport, and they judge themselves and their value on what they do on the field, and that's the last thing I think about. And I want to know, how are you doing, and how you doing in school, how's your family, and the softball stuff. If Yeah, we have to win for me to keep a job, but if I have to sacrifice any of my women or my players, then I'll live with the fate.
It sounds to me, but we're developing a Pinkerton tree here within the league. You got Suarez at Texas Tech. Courtney's going to be a year from now back in the league with you. You got a Pinkerton tree here.
Well, I'm proud of them all. I'm proud of, and I love them all. So, and that's not what, if you know me, a lot of people out there don't, but the relationship's more important to me than the wins and losses. You forget about the wins and losses. You have high moments you're always going to remember, but it's the memories and the relationships that you have is what this is all about.
Yeah, right. Now you got Lindsay in there who had been at Iowa State.
Yep.
Around,
Actually replaced me.
but yeah, I feel like you've got like a 6 degrees to everybody that's coached at Iowa State of some sort. Right.
Yeah.
When I saw that, it's like, wait a minute, wasn't she the one? Yeah, and that's what it
Yeah, I
was.
thought she came in, and back then we were known, for our offense, and left, and they did better than when I was here. And I thought, well, if Courtney's leaving, I got to bring in someone better than me. So I brought Lindsay back, and then I was talking to her about it, and she jokingly said, Pink, those kids could hit. And all I did is not mess them up. So, I'll take the compliment, but I mean, she's a heck of a coach, and we're finding our groove with each other. I mean, that's an adjustment too. That's getting back to the continuity. I mean, Courtney was here 6.5 years, and it's tough to lose someone, but I'm happy for her, and I'm happy with Lindsay, and looking forward and hoping we do well.
And she knows Iowa State well, so it's a good fit there. And like I said, we wish you well. Look forward to you this rest of this fall hosting the Iowa Four. Go easy on Renee for me, all right? Just don't be, just
Well, the last two Big Fours were 1 and 2, so we're going to roll out the lineups and make the changes. I mean, yes, winning's important, but I think getting a look at these 6 freshmen. I didn't mention Tatum Johnson, one of the ones at pitcher that's looked
right.
impressive. I'm sitting here thinking about 5 pitchers. I go, we have a 6th one, and Tatum's been very impressive. But we'll put them out there, and let Tatum and the bullpen get their time in, and it'll be a good weekend. But I mean, right now it's kind of like football preseason and baseball spring training. You put combinations out there, you do different things with the lineup, and then you learn from that, watch the film, and try to be better in February.
Should be fun. I know a lot of people in the state of Iowa will be excited this weekend in Ames, Iowa for the great Big Four Iowa tournament. That's going to be fun. And then before we know it, season will be here. Iowa State softball will be here.
But
Coach,
my question before you sign off,
sure.
we got it. We got a radio booth up here for you.
Those are, as you know very well, there will be a lot of considerations and chats and budget talks, and we'll see how those work. As you know, that's not easy.
Yeah.
That's all I will say.
Well, I tell you what, since we're empty nesters, if Bear can get you here, I'll even put you up in Chateau Pinkerton.
Whoa! We might have to pass that. We may
So
have to negotiate this. This could be. We might have something. We might have something here. Well, let's see if we get along after the Dolphins Chiefs play. That might be
we'll get along. I'm not gonna lose a friend over an NFL game. So,
Well, I'm glad
you
you're a
know,
better person than me. I get very agitated. I'm not a good, I'm a very sore loser when it comes to that.
so well, I don't like to lose. I'm like the next person, but it's not worth losing friends or family
No, you're
over.
right. No, it's very fair. Always a pleasure talking to you. We could do this for hours, but you have a life. I don't, but you have a
Uh,
life. Thanks for doing this. This is always one of my favorites to do all year, and we might do one again later on this season, obviously with everything with the Big 12 going on. But always appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. And like I said, man, I'll look forward to seeing you around.
Hey, I appreciate everything you do for the sport. Love what the work that you do and the people that you bring on. It's so good to listen to other people. Proud to call you friend, and I'll make time for you anytime we can.